Welcome to another session of In the Limelight. And today in the Limelight, we've got Prakash Srinivasan from YML Migration. And the second business they run is CanSelect. So Prakash comes with an extensive background in immigration and migration and education services, specializing in Australian migration and Canadian migration. Welcome, Prakash. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Harpreet. Appreciate. I know you're a busy man, but thank you very much for having me on the show. I'm very happy to be talking about business and about how much we go through in our kind of a lifestyle.
That's fantastic. Look, again, now, thank you. It's my pleasure to go through your journey. And objective today, Prakash, is obviously to discuss a few things about business, talk about your journey, understand your challenges, learn a few things from your journey as well. So if someone's looking to start a migration or education consultancy business, they can pick a few things up from us and from this conversation. Now, just one thing I want to ask is, specifically, why did you end up starting a consultancy business in migration and immigration?
I had no clue about immigration consultancy. I was just like any other normal person. I'm from an engineering background or manufacturing background, I would say. Look, I've been in Australia for almost 23 years, and I came in a trades background. I was happily working, and everything was going fine until I had a recession coming in. Somewhere, I think it's around 2008, we had a global recession, and the company shut down. I was made redundant. So I had to do something to maintain my family. So now the recession was pretty bad. When compared to COVID, it was worse off, because at least during the COVID last year, we had some kind of a benefits from the government. So this was, so I was looking around what to do. I had a passion for law from ever since I was a kid. So there were two choices, either to become a lawyer or to become a doctor. So now, having said that, both are independent, so you are not bound to anyone. That's something I wanted. I wanted to be myself, not to answer anyone. One of my friend, he suggested about the immigration law studies. So I got into it. I wanted to study law, but then it was too expensive. In the year, with the recession around, it wasn't sure how long I'll be surviving in the market. So one option was to go back, pack up the bags, and go back to India.
Wow.
I did the immigration law. It was a course for 1 year. Those days we had just a graduate certificate. Now it's changed. It's become more. It's more of a graduate diploma. A graduate certificate course. It was overall for a period of 1 year. Now, look, that's basically a part of the law, but it's not the law thing. It was more specializing in immigration law. I completed that, and ever since I think 1 year or so, I was a contract agent for another business. Now, while I was studying, I was actually getting payments from the government for unemployment benefits. So I did mention them that I don't want to work anywhere, but I'm doing the study. So they were very happy that I was upskilling. And while I was studying, I went to migration agent. He's a Malaysian Chinese. He was in Box Hill. I was very scared to be a migration agent because I'm more of a manufacturing industry guy, and suddenly you're looking at someone to be working in an office atmosphere with all the files, and I was too scared. I went and approached him, and I told him not to, I was not expecting salaries, but then I wanted an exposure, and I'll do anything. So while I was actually studying, I was doing basic administrative skills, photocopying, keeping up the file, marking and highlighting, and all those. Slowly, I got introduced to different aspects of the law. The agent was kind enough to teach me while I was studying. It doesn't happen. Those days, it was very hard to get someone to reveal the trade secrets. We still have what we call as a trade secret between ourselves those days.
Yeah.
But I was lucky and very fortunate, and I always thank him for what he has done. So it gave me the confidence, and I got into another business as a contract worker. And after 1 year, I couldn't stand working for someone, so I built up my business. I started working for myself, and it's been 11 years since I'm running for my own business here.
It's been a challenging journey by the sounds of it, but I'm sure it's also a rewarding journey. Um, Going back to the time like you were working for someone and you had this kind of epiphany that you didn't want to work for anyone. I'm sure there were fears, right? So did you have any fears before like going on your own and starting out, and how did you handle those fears?
200% yes. When I started off on my own, I was very confident. Now, that part when I was studying, going to someone, not expecting a salary, and then trying to get that knowledge. Now, knowledge was more important for me then. From day one, once I started myself, I was very confident of myself. I had a very good client base, good success ratio that built up my business. So, luckily, I was not going through all those issues of, you know, I was pretty much confident of what I was doing.
Talk to me about your journey of getting your first few clients, because they're the hardest. When someone starts a business, getting those first few clients are the hardest kind of thing. Especially, I remember my journey when I started Quint. The first few clients were hardest. Like you don't have any track record. All you can say is, look at my experience. What was your journey like, and how did you like manage to get your first few clients?
Well, we're looking at the year 2000, all right?
Yeah, yeah.
So not much of social media that time, not much of all these softwares which are very readily available, not many marketing people like you around, or it's too expensive. Um, Mine was, I was in a suburb. I was at Dandenong that time when I was a migration agent. So actually, the way I built up was this. Dandenong was a suburb. We have a lot of Indians over here, especially students. And I was in an apartment, and right opposite mine was another apartment. And there was, I remember the day when I printed my business card. I came back home and I saw these bunch of people, Indian students, sitting outside their house on the street. There was a kind of a platform. They were just like it was nice, you know. It was like in India we do that. We all join together in the evening, and I parked my car, went to them, took a few cards, and introduced myself. I was very much new over there in Dandenong, so it wasn't something they knew me very well. So I introduced myself and told them, look, I'm a migration agent and I'm registered with Omara, and I'm happy to look into their any requirements. That very evening, I had around 15 of residents coming into my apartment. My
Wow.
wife and my daughter were in India at that time, so the apartment was new. It was I had enough space for. We had pulled out all the dining chairs, and people were just standing. And that's the first consultation I had in my house. And people started asking questions. I mean, basically, yes, people has a lot of doubts. Even today, they need answers, and I was very happy to answer the questions. I started working from home when I started off, and the good part was I had the time, all the time to myself. So I remember working from until 11:30, 11:45. I remember sitting down and having a call at 11:30 from a student who, because the rules were changing, and so the next day, if after 12 o'clock you make an application, you are bound by the new rules. So the last minute work. The good part was, since I was confident of what I was doing, and with my exposure with during the training, and I could do a lot of work. I had that specialization in terms of getting into be the tribunal appeals and business visas. So I had this passion of law. So it's not just looking at the immigration website; it's the knowledge, the legal part of it, the requirements, the regulations. That's the 15 people who came into my house that day. Few of them became my clients,
Mm.
and then slowly they started introducing, and it was word of mouth. Overall, the first few years was word of mouth, because I was working in my home, so I had a limitation. The last thing I wanted to do was take up a lot of work and not able to manage the workload.
Mm.
Uh, yeah, that's how it started.
So obviously, last year, 2020, was an unprecedented kind of situation for a lot of businesses, COVID
Yeah.
impact. Um, we just would like to understand what was the impact on your business from COVID's perspective, and how did you handle that?
Well, COVID basically it has impacted everyone, and especially our kind of business. We deal with immigration, so
Mm.
we are looking at visas, people who want to stay back in Australia as well as people from overseas. I did have a client base from Dubai, from America, from India, Sri Lanka. those countries. Now, those were all stopped. So I couldn't even give them a consultation because there was no point. We didn't have a clue when it's going to happen. It was very much affected last year, but the beauty was my specialization was more into business visas and tribunal appeals, partner visas. Tribunal cases are ones which were more relevant to the ones in Australia where the visas got refused and take it up to the tribunals. So I could say 50%, the normal 50% I was surviving, but it wasn't easy. It was not.
Okay. And in terms of changes, like because of COVID, a lot of businesses had to adapt their sales process, their marketing process. What kind of changes did you have to make in your operation, in your business? And are those changes in process or operation you made, are they going to stay or you're going to go back to normal? What's the scenario?
Look, over the period, and especially last year, it was an eye-opener. So things are changing, especially the technology or the way people expect things, the competition in terms of the costing, the ease of access for many people. Last year, businesses like me have understood one thing, that it's the technology. You need to have everything which are easily accessible. So one of the things we understood, or I understood, was because of the COVID, I couldn't have the client coming in face to face. So it was more of Zoom. So we start more of virtual consultations. People were confused. So social media was a very important aspect. So to keep the client base, what we do, look, if I have 1,000 clients in my database, I need to keep them occupied. So there has to be a constant reminder, look, I'm still alive, I'm still an agent. So they need the news, they need to be knowing that we have a lot of social media applications. And one of the things I understood is, yes, I need to get more onto it. Frankly speaking, all these years, it was more a word of mouth. So I used to get clients walking in, referred by someone, they call me up, fix up an appointment, come over to the office. Last year, yes, there was a struggle. They were not sure what's going to happen. So there was so I decided that it was a good time because business was slightly down. It was a good time to sit down, think, and do a lot of research studies. I upgraded myself in terms of knowing what to do, planning. We end up not planning and then start going like a bull. We understood it requires planning. Marketing is a very important aspect of a business. And so I've decided to really concentrate on that part of it, be more on the virtual side. The business has to be more virtual, competitive in terms of the costing, and equally qualitative, giving the same kind of a quality to people. And everyone wants, money was an aspect. Everyone were affected, so there was not many who could pay a lot for the fees. Structured payments, reduced payments, and discounts. It was something where I thought, okay, if I were to give someone a lower price, then I have to work. I need to automate my systems. So because labor charges are more higher in Australia. So if I automate my system, if I get the website to do the things I normally do personally, or if I automate the system where I approach a larger number, if increase my client base, so the cost reduces. So those were the kind of a thinking I went into. And I'm still in the process of implementing that. Luckily, this year has been a good start. It's still not a good start for many who are overseas intending to come here, but we are hoping that we are going to be a lot more different in terms of working. It's not going to be the same anymore. Yeah.
Of course. And as businesses, we've got to evolve. We've got to make sure that we are moving with times. And again, hindsight, looking back at Corona, knowing what you know now, what would you have done differently? And what would you recommend people to do differently, to set up a business in a way that something like Corona, if it comes up in future, can be dealt with really quickly? What are the 3 key things you tell someone like you yourself?
Okay, the first one, very important, is branding. Okay, now you see those logos over there. It took 5 years back. I decided I'll have a brand, so I spent some money getting a particular logo. I had a few more ideas, never had the time. So we always complain we don't have the time to do things, but then we have to allocate a particular time for the things. Like I said, the marketing, that's something I understood. So branding is one, marketing the brand. So just having a brand is not enough. You have to market it. So people have to know about it. So tomorrow, whether you do the work or not, I need to know that there was YML migration, there was this person there. So that's knowing. And thirdly, open the market. So try to open the services. So just doing one, it's good. You specialization is very good, but then give access to others. So I keep the client base with me. Now we have for someone to become a permanent resident or make an application, they need to satisfy the English requirement. So I need to start looking at particular social media or an application or something which helps my clients to go through the English training. So those are the three ones. Trying to approach into other services. That's why I started Canada. So it became very hard for clients over here to be in Australia or make an application. They were studying and studying. I hate it when I see someone studying here for 10 years or 8 years. And what they don't understand is this: every year they're spending money. They might be earning, but they are earning that money to pay the college fees. So the Canada one was, the other business was started last year with a partnership with the agent from Canada. She's a registered agent. Now, so I had more options. So I tried to give more options to the client base there.
Great. So basically giving more options to the client, being open to new partnerships, and just marketing, like making sure the brands gets out and about.
Team working, yeah. So I understood one thing: you can't do everything alone. You got to have. There are people specialized in particular aspects. Work as a team for the common good. It is not easy, but then once you have a team, you can achieve a lot more. That's one thing. Yeah.
I interviewed someone earlier. They were a migration agent as well. They told me that there's 7,000 Mara agents are apparently registered Mara agents.
Yeah.
So obviously it's a very competitive market. So that brings me to, how do you see your competition? Do you learn from them, ignore them, or try to outsmart them? So how does that affect you, having so much competition in your market?
I was having this discussion a few days back with a bunch of migration agents. So over in 2000 and 2002, there was not much of networking happening between the migration agents. We were looking at each one of us were a competition. We always had a group, and over the period of time, there's a lot which has evolved. Now, thanks to social media, again, we had Facebook groups, we had WhatsApp groups. So we have a couple of Facebook groups which has all the migration agents registered. So we have updates. It's only meant for registered migration agents. So once you start, there are several migration agents who know me, but I haven't met them personally. We started knowledge sharing. We started stress sharing. We go through a lot of stress. We go through mental stress, physical stress, emotional stress. So we started talking to each other. So that helped us to stick together. Normally, it's not a competition anymore. So where there's another agent, we work as a team. Like I said, we all know that that's the way it works. There are times when I'm not sure about something, so call up and they know something. Or maybe if I had a client from, say, Iraq, which is something I wouldn't specialize, or from China, Vietnam, I know there are a few migration agents in the team, and they are from that particular country. They know more about it, pass on the clients to them. So it's working very well now.
So you guys have created kind of a support ecosystem using each other rather
100%.
than kind of try and cut each other from below. That's great. That is great. Again, obviously, you mentioned Facebook a few times. You mentioned online marketing channels a few times. Who are your ideal customers, and what channels kind of do you use to get to them and get those and get them to be your clients?
All right. Ideal customers would be the students who are inside Australia. Onshore would be, in other words, we call them as onshore. Students who intend to apply for migration visas. The other part is people who are experienced professionals overseas who want to migrate into Australia. And in my business, since I specialize in tribunal cases, it's more to people who have got their visas refused and who had to go to the tribunal, which is the next part. That's the ones who are inside Australia who have got the visas refused. Those are my ideal customers in terms of the kind of specialization I have. The other one was the businesses, overseas businesses. Now we're looking at the current situation with Australia. They need the money pouring in, so which means they need more students. They will be starting to bring in more students, and businesses who are ready to invest money in Australia. So
that is a great opportunity for a lot of businesses. I think the quota from Australian immigration was increased for business visas as well.
They need the money. Australia needs money. Yeah,
of course. For someone sitting in India, all the subcontinental countries, trying to get a business visa, what are the three key criteria for them, and what should they do to start the process?
Well, there are particular requirements. Now with business visas, there are a few categories of business visas. The lowest or the simplest one, you're looking at someone already running a business in India, for example, at least for 2 years. So we look at turnover. The turnover is important. We're not talking about the profits here, the turnover. So there is a limitation. There's a minimum requirement of they need to have 2 years of a particular
trading history
turnover of the last 4 years. So we're looking at basically business skills. So if they have a good turnover, we're also looking at the business skills, and they need to have around 800,000 as a total assets, which they can bring into Australia. And total assets would include value of the business and value of their personal assets. Also, it can include the partner, the spouse property or their assets. The visa is granted. Now, these are going to be sponsored by the states. So we approach the state. It also depends on which particular state they want to. Once they come here, they run a business for at least 2 years, and there are certain requirements they have to meet. And at the end of 2 years, they need to provide evidence that they have satisfied those particular requirements and apply for the permanent residency. Now, the good part is when they come in on the temporary residency, the families can come together, the children can come together. It's very good for business people who have children who want to come and study here. What I've seen is most business people in India, they're very well off. If you have lots of money in India, you don't need to come to Australia. That's basically the fact. But these are the people who want to look at the future of the children, the children's settling down over here. Or also an expansion. So it's a very good opportunity for the business people to do that. With currently the states offering faster processing on the business visa, so it is a very right opportunity for the businesses to come into Australia.
And it's a changing trend, like as you said. Previously, if you had money, if you had a running business in India, people wouldn't think about it. But I think the mindset is changing. People are thinking more towards future. And Australia, countries like Australia, Canada, New Zealand, they probably are the best countries to run the business at this stage. Like even if you look at COVID scenario, amount of help government provided businesses compared to countries like India, unfortunately, where there was not a lot of support compared to Australia. People see, and those are becoming decisive factors now.
Again, technology comes into the place over here. Nowadays, you can be anywhere, and you can sell anywhere, basically. So many businesses, the IT companies, that's the way they used to work earlier, having the branches over there. Now, it is exposed to other types of businesses. We have a lot of people doing the wholesale spices. They bring in over here. Now, Australia is a huge country. The population is growing over here. There's a lot of things Indians can do, Indian businesses can do to bring in the goods. As long as they make it competitive, the manufacturing in India and selling it over here. There's a lot of opportunities over here.
Agree, 100%. Yeah. 2021, obviously 2020 was a challenging year, as we agreed on. What are the plans for YML Migration and CanSelect for 2021? What steps are you taking to grow your business and take it to the next level?
As I said, I've been studying law part-time. So last year was good. With the businesses going down, I took up full-time studies, and so somewhere around mid of this year, I would be finishing my studies. So now with the YML migration and CanSelect, the whole of last year, it was quite, couldn't do much. So for both the businesses, I'm trying to automate the whole business. So mine is a small firm, but I try to do a lot with that. So I'm going to automate the whole system. So it's more of websites, a lot of marketing to be done for that. I do have a few staff. I've got a partner who is going to look into the Canada business. I'm going to open up. I was not doing this. I was not concentrating more on education part of it. There were a few cases coming in, but that was a good market. Getting people to come to study in Australia. So there's a good demand. There's always a demand for it. Australia has been one of the most favored countries in terms of us in India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, which I deal with. So that's a new change I'm bringing in, partnering with someone who can manage the education business. Now, since I'm becoming a lawyer, so we are going to be starting to deal with legal aspects. So concentrating on business visas, getting the people in and trying to, I do a lot of family visas. So we're going to have the court, Federal Circuit Court appeals and family law matters through the same business. The branding is going to be the same. So we are looking at specialization in one word. There are a few categories which are going to be specialized and the rest are going to be automated. So reducing the cost totally.
So basically focus more on brand building, automation, and just try and get the word out there. That's the main plan for 2021. And what do you see the biggest challenges in front of you right now, and how are you trying to solve them?
Biggest challenge is marketing. It's always been. So it's more, we have all those platforms, and every day the platforms are increasing. The methodology or the analytics of how the platform works is increasing. I've done a lot of mistake as a business person. I know there's a lot of people who are watching me, they think it's easy. I wasn't very cunning or selfish. I spent a lot of money in terms of marketing, and I understood I was not getting any returns into it. So one was educating myself, and then I understood, yes, there are things what you get to do it. If you don't spend money, you don't get the money. It's in any business, when you invest, of course, you need to have a very strong marketing plan. Without that, there's nothing which can happen. That's one thing which I understood about trying to spend the money in the right manner and trying to reduce the money where it was unnecessary. I started putting it to paper and saw that there was a lot of subscriptions I'm having. We have a lot of applications. I didn't have the time. I have heaps of subscriptions, but then I don't have the time to manage that. Again, I didn't have that knowledge to that, and I started studying. So I had too many things in my plate, and that's one mistake I made. But unfortunately, that was my passion to study everything. So I've actually, over the period of years, I've educated myself in all aspects. But then to be a good business person, I need to get that forward in a more positive way. So trying to get that through.
And delegation as a business owner, I think is a key skill to have. As business owners, we're wearing so many different hats. One day we're doing our accounting, next day we're working on our marketing, we're doing sales, we're doing customer service. So juggling those hats could become a big challenge as well, especially if you don't have properly delegation done as well. Tell us about a common myth about your professional, which you'd like to debunk.
People think it's very easy to make an application. So I know, look, we all do that. We expect freebies. We expect free consultations. I have given people who know me, I've given consultation, not charge. But then there are times when, because in the ethical side, we have a lot of other requirements to be met. So when we advise something, it has to be recorded in terms of what advice we give, a file note. We do have a lot of work to be done. Once it's not just telling something. I rarely look at the immigration website. Sometimes I even struggle to go into those tabs on the immigration website because we follow the library or the legislations. We have different types of regulations, we have policies, we have instruments to follow. I have seen a lot of people applying themselves, thinking that they can talk to a few agents and make an application. It's all good. I've done my application 11 years back. Things are different now. There are times when a small error can cost a lot of money in the longer run. The other myth that people have is Australia is closed for migration. It cannot happen at all. Australia, it's a huge country. There's a lot of shortage of skilled professionals, literally. There are places in regional areas where they are struggling. I was at one of the regional, Marysville, last week. I was holidaying over there, and I do that. I go to meet the business people, talk to them. I try to look at the problems they have, and everyone I spoke to had a problem. They could not find the staff. It is going to be opening up, but I would say you have to be more open on where exactly you're going to be. So you need to be calculative. So if you're looking at coming here on a basis that you want to apply for permanent residency, start working on it now. So look at where you're going to be, the first thing. Look at where, it's all mathematics. I love mathematics. So you're going to calculate, okay, fine, there's a population shortage. There's going to be a demand in 2 years' time. And that's where you're going to be. You're going to start building up your profile over there, study there. And the state is always helpful. Those are the states which try to bring in more people. And yeah, so I would suggest that part of it. Yeah.
And what's your outlook on running a business in Australia? According to me, Australia is probably one of the best places on the earth to kind of run a business. Everything's so aligned. There's money in the market. The lifestyles are such that people freely spend money. What's your outlook on running a business in Australia?
Well, I would agree with what you said just now. The good part is we have everything is black and white. In sense, we have the system in place, and anything we do, when there is a system, it becomes, there's not much of stress on it. There's a lot of support system from the government actually in Australia. I know Victorian government does a lot of training in many aspects. There are support groups over here. And again, there is a good market over here. All you got to do is, any business, what you do, you tap the market. You find out what is basically required over here, or what is not available here, and what is the shortage. We Indians, I mean, I'm from India, basically. So we have so much of inventions happening in India, and we forget that these are small things which can be introduced over here. People love it here.
You mentioned that you used online platforms like Facebook has been part of it. The question I have around the online platform is, which platform kind of worked the best for you, and how do you use each platform to your advantage?
No, I haven't. Like I said, I did a lot of mistakes. I've spent a lot on Facebook ads, Google ads, Google ads, Facebook ads, Instagram. And it became, now it's picking up, and I'm not doing much of marketing there, but the money what we spend, I did spend a lot, so I was doing something wrong. So it's basically the words, it's the way you portray it, and there's a lot of competition on these social media. So if I do something, there's always someone. So basically, I've understood that I'm trying to come to a conclusion that I'm going to stop all these social media marketing for the moment, and start thinking at what to do on the right way. So Facebook, yes, there were people. The one good thing what happened was the brand awareness that built up. Yes, when someone goes on Google, types in migration agent, one of the things I used to do was, anyone who calls me, I ask them, how did you come to know about me? So sometimes it's, yeah, my friend, he was your client, which is normal. But of late, I've been hearing a lot of people when they say, I searched you on Google. Now, I don't do any AdWords on Google. Somewhere, it was just a chance. So again, we have Google Maps. There are many things over there. When I read about it, there's a lot of education. Like I said, I don't have the time to do it. So I need to start concentrating on putting the money when it works. So far, Facebook and Google My Business has been instrumental in developing the brand name or exposing me. Google My Business.
I'll tell you from my experience, we managed close to 100 Google My Businesses. The traffic we get from Google My Business, we've seen, is the most engaged traffic and come with the highest intent. The conversion rate from Google My Business are through the roof. They're the best performing, out of any channels. Google My Business probably performs the best.
That's correct. So I found Google Maps and Facebook. Yes, of course, you got to be constantly feeding the message, or you got to be alive every single day. Now, that sometimes when I have to do everything myself, it's not possible. There are times when I get stuck with cases and it becomes quiet. So there has to be then we have again applications like Hootsuite, which I am part of. I've got a subscription over there where I program all my feeds over there so that the people are constantly getting some messages. In terms of ROIs, Google has been number one for me. Google Maps has been good return over investment.
Great. And if you had an extra budget lying around, how would you spend it and why?
The extra budget will be more for marketing, social media. Now I would look at, yes, marketing would be number one. Like I said, automation. So my website is still, my website doesn't do anything. It's built 10 years back. I built it. I've did some IT before. I've done my e-commerce. I know programming in Java, VB. So I programmed it in HTML, but then the times have gone. There's a lot of SEO to be done on that. Trying to change my website, so build up the automation in that. A landing page would be good for me, just a landing page, not to have too much information on the website. A very good landing page which has basic information, which can spend other money into monthly budgeting into marketing to my capacity. So I don't want to spend too much and have too many clients, and then I'm not able to perform. So
obviously, in your line of business, there's a lot of success and there's a lot of rejection as well with visas and all of that. Like failure, how do you cope with it?
It's not easy.
Yeah.
Failure, it hits us. We go through a lot of emotional stress. I think because I know most of my friends, including me, when we start dealing with clients, it's money is always there. Yes, we are running a business, we need the money. But then more than that, we have a lot of passion. We put in a lot of passion into the case. There are times when I've seen a very genuine client being refused their visas. There are times when I feel this is not a very strong case and they get approved. Now, when these things happen, it puts us down. Now I've had a lot of mental stress because of that. I cannot take failure because I'm a very strong-willed person. I fight. I compete with my cases. I've been known to take up very complicated matters. I spend a lot of time going into the law books, trying to find out each and everything, my submissions, argue with the case officers. And when you go through a failure, the first few days it's hard. We lose confidence, or I lose confidence in myself. But then there's always something where you come out with. It's not easy. We go through that. I personally deal with my clients. It's not something, and every case I deal with, I put my heart and soul in it. And every win is a success. Every failure is very emotionally stressful.
A lot of migration agents out there. Not everyone's doing the right thing, as you know. What are the three key things a prospective client who needs a migration agent needs to look at as like kind of warning signals when hiring a migration agent or consulting agent? What are the three kind of alarms would tell you that this probably is not the right person to deal with?
Very important. Now, people should be aware that migration agents are registered. Okay, so basically, when anyone approaches a person for immigration advice, the requirement is anyone who advises on immigration law should be registered with OMARA. So we are called as registered migration agents. We have a particular number. We call it a MARA number. Now, MARA number has 5-digit or 6-digit, how much ever. But it depends on when you were graduated. So if someone is registered, say last year, their number starts with 20. Someone is graduated in 2009 or 2006, it will start with 06 and the number. So the first 2-digit designates when the agent has graduated from immigration law. Now it doesn't. That's a part of it. So when someone goes to a migration agent or takes an advice on immigration matters, they need to first ask the question, are you a MARA agent? What is your MARA number? Now, there could be someone who is newly registered agent. Now, we all follow the same studies. We all follow the same law. So it again depends on how knowledgeable. There is a huge number of visas in immigration, in Australian immigration. Now, like I said, I cannot do a few cases, so I push it off to someone who is specializing in that. So try to understand what this person specializes. There are some agents who are doing more of education or student visas. They're very good at that. There are some agents who do a lot of production visas or the refugee visas. They are good in that. So try to understand what that agent is specializing in. So if you have a need for, say, employer sponsored, try to research into the agency, try to understand what kind of cases they have held. And it's very hard to find out what is the success ratio on that, just because we see a few things. Now, social media, that way the negative part is, there's a lot. You can invest $2,000 per month and you can get a lot of client base over there. If the work to be done, you need to look at the specialization of that particular agent. And thirdly, trust in your agent, because even me, when I go to a doctor, if I don't have the trust factor with me, everything seems wrong. So I tell my client, you only become my client when you trust me, because once you start trusting me, you're open with me. Everything I do, you understand more better in the work what we do. So have faith, have trust. Once you know that this is the right person it's like this. When you go for a consultation, you know whether they are talking, and always do research beforehand. I always educate my client. If I'm doing a particular visa, I tell them, look, these are the information, read it. So research, educate yourself so that you understand better.
Amazing. And again, you've been a family man. You've worked 11 years of running your own business. You've finally done your law as well, what you wanted to do. So you have achieved a lot. The next question probably be hard as well in terms of answering is, which achievement are you most proud of?
When in the 2009 recession, when I moved from manufacturing into running my own business, look, my family, I'm from Bangalore, so my family, everyone is used to working for someone. They're all in IT, high profile occupation, even today. And we're not from that business kind of a background. You know what I mean? So there are people who are always in business, so it's okay. So I was one of those people who are not working for someone, but running my business. And that was the time I lost everything. When I was retrenched, I had my own house, I had my dogs. I'm a huge, crazy dog lover. I lost everything, and I was totally depressed that year. And then I pulled up, and today I'm back with what I wanted. That was my achievement. Then I understood one thing. I have failures. Every year is sometimes there is failure, there's success. So one thing I understood is failure always puts me up twice up now faster than going down. So the thinking and the knowledge what I've gained running a business, that's my achievement.
Very, very nicely done. Again, hats off to you. Your journey is very inspiring. You have come through, a tough time, made some really hard decisions, and you are where you are because of your hard work and kind of that being adamant that you want to achieve, like you knew your end goal. So again, hats off to you. A lot of respect for that. What advice would you give to someone, maybe a younger self, yourself, while starting the journey? What are the few things you do differently now, apart from marketing, because we've discussed that already?
Yeah, one is research in what you want to do. So for me, one thing I understood, you can do any business, okay, as long as you know what you're doing. You got to have that passion. Without passion, no business is going to survive over here. And you need to have that thirst for getting something. And there's no stop. Today, I plan every year and I try to achieve that. So you need to have that kind of a target every year.
So you set goals every year for yourself?
Exactly, yes. Amazing. Without that, I cannot achieve. And last year, I was very upset because there were a few goals and it wasn't met. But then again, it was something. So there could be many causes, natural causes, which can affect. But I took it positively. I updated myself. I did many classes. Udemy, I went on. I learned about Bitcoins, knowledge or the education. it always helps you any kind of a business. So I'm from a manufacturing background. My studies are in mechanical. I'm doing immigration law. Tomorrow I'm going to be a lawyer. But everything I've studied has always used me to what I have to do. So knowledge, keep studying, keep updated with the technology, and remember to always ask. Never be in a shell. If you want to start a business, remember to ask. Be free to ask. The times have changed. There are a lot of people. There's a lot of avenues where you can get help. That's what you have to do. Research and be thirsty for more, to achieve more. Planning.
Last question, kind of basically. So for anyone who's watching this or listening to this podcast, how can they reach out to you? Where can they connect to you? And what sort of specialization you can say, look, you've got, you've nailed it, and they can reach out to you for certain cases. So yeah, how can they get in touch with you?
Look, anyone can get in touch with me. Basically, they type in YML into the Google. They find me. There's numbers over here, right on my banner. Yep. So there's a phone number. I've got my Mara number quite visible over there. So go on, put my name in or the Mara number on the Mara website. I deal with Australian visas and Canada visas, both in terms of education. So if someone wants to study here in Australia or Canada, please approach me. Or someone who wants to marry someone and get them here. Partner visas are my specialization. Specialization in tribunal cases. So if someone's visa is rejected, do not lose hope, because sometimes, most of the times nowadays, the case officers make mistakes because they are like you and me. They are humans, and they go through a lot of pressure in their work. They might make a mistake, and that's what the tribunal is for, an avenue where you can address the wrongs and then get it through. There's always hope, even though there's a visa refuse. So please approach me on that. I do have Canada, as I mentioned. So I'm happy to look into that, give you a risk factor, what kind of options, the time factor roughly, and give you the option is Canada better if you're open to Canada, because that's what. And Canada, again, I do not provide immigration advice. I have a partner who is a registered consultant for Canada, and legally she's the one who can provide an immigration advice. So we do the administration side of work in the office. So we do have Zoom consultations. She's based in Toronto in Canada. Business people, please, I'll be very happy to deal with it. I currently deal only with India, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka. Do have an office in Dubai. So any Indian businesses in Dubai can communicate directly or through my branch office in Dubai. There's a lot of options for business people to come here and conduct business.
I just want to touch on the process. So let's say I'm a prospective client of yours. What is the process of engaging you? What can they expect? Like, is the first consultation free? How does that work?
Depending on the case, I normally have the first consultation over the phone. Now, when someone calls up, they give a call on the phone, and I try to understand the matter. Now, there are times when I can solve, with the COVID, it's taught me I can deal with people over the phone and solve the matter immediately. If it could be a very small situation where they are already made the application and they don't know what's happening, or the case officer sent an email. Now, those things, there's no charge for it. Please feel free to call me up on my phone number, and I'm happy to have a talk. Now, there are times when I have to get you to come over to the office because I might have to look into a few things or have to give a personal one-on-one consultation. Now, cases like tribunal appeals or the partner visas, there's a lot of work involved for, or even the general skill migration. There's processes involved. I do charge a nominal consultation fee for it, and with a promise that once you sign up as a client, that amount is deducted in the normal charges. So it's basically a win-win situation. And these are only for cases where I feel I need to spend more time in providing you an advice. Now, that is going to be a legal advice, which is going to be used for you. I provide you the materials. So, yep, the over-the-phone consultation is always free.
That's it for In the Limelight today. We do thank you for your time, Prakash.
Thank you very much.
It has been an insightful conversation, and I'm sure a lot of people would have learned a lot from it. Once again, if you are a business owner out there and want to share your journey with our audience and want to get your name out there, please reach out to us. You can message us on our page, and we'd be more than happy to conduct a session for you as well. For the time being, we're signing off. Thank you very much, Prakash. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next time.